Topic: Direction of blood flow, blood vessels. Aims of lesson. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to know the direction of blood flow and the difference between oxygenated and deoxygenated blood in different parts of the system, a lungs and pulmonary system and associated blood vessels, major organs and systemic system and the associated major blood vessels of the brain, small intestine, liver, and kidneys. The blood vessels, including the structure and functioning of arteries, veins with valves, and capillaries. Introduction. You have studied animal tissues in grade 10. You have studied the concept of a tissue as a group of similar cells that are adapted for a particular function in grade 10. Revise the section on blood as a tissue in the grade 10 lesson 1 of term 2. Concepts and skills. Below are definitions of some of the terms that you will study under this section. Use your textbook and underline all the new terms/words that you encounter while studying through this section. Use the glossary in your textbook to define these new terms/words. Note: at least 2 marks are awarded if you can define a term correctly in a test or examination. Oxygenated blood. Blood with a high concentration of oxygen and a low concentration of carbon dioxide. Deoxygenated blood. Blood with a high concentration of carbon dioxide and a low concentration of oxygen. Arteries. Blood vessels that transport blood away from the heart. Veins. Blood vessels that transport blood to the heart. Capillaries. Blood vessels where exchange of substances to and from the cells occur. Pulmonary circulatory system. Blood circulatory system responsible for the flow of blood from the heart to the lungs and back. Systemic circulatory system. Blood circulatory system responsible for the flow of blood from the heart to the rest of the body and back. Study the following content. Pulmonary circulatory system. Blood flows from the heart to the lungs and back. A deoxygenated blood flows into the right atrium and through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. The right ventricle pumps the blood through the pulmonary artery, which divides into 2 branches, one to each lung. In the lungs, carbon dioxide diffuses out of the blood into the lungs and oxygen diffuses from the lungs into the blood. 4 pulmonary veins carry the oxygenated blood to the left atrium of the heart. Systemic circulatory system. Blood flows from the heart to the rest of the body and back. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lungs via the 4 pulmonary veins. The blood flows through the bicuspid valve into the left ventricle. The left ventricle pumps the blood via the aorta and its branches to the rest of the body. The upper part of the body receives blood via the subclavian artery, and the carotid artery takes blood with oxygen to the brain. The hepatic artery transports blood to the liver, and the mesenteric and gastric arteries transport blood to the intestines and the stomach. The hepatic portal vein transports blood from the stomach and intestines to the liver where nutrients are absorbed. The hepatic portal vein occurs between 2 organs and not between an organ and the heart. The renal artery provides the kidneys with oxygen, and the renal vein transports deoxygenated blood to the heart. All the veins from the head and shoulders open into the vena cava superior. All the veins from the lower body opens into the vena cava inferior. Deoxygenated blood therefore flows back to the heart. Important blood vessels in the double circulatory system of humans. Blood vessels. Arteries. Transport blood away from the heart. The walls of arteries consist of 3 layers. An outer fibrous layer of connective tissue, a middle layer of smooth muscle tissue and elastic fibers, an inner layer of squamous epithelium, the endothelium. The middle layer allows for the artery to stretch when blood is pumped under high pressure from the heart. The thick muscular layer and elastic fibers helps the artery wall to resist the high pressure. The lumen of an artery is smaller than that of a vein. Arteries divide into thinner arteries, called arterioles. Arteries have no valves. Only the aorta and pulmonary artery have semilunar valves. Veins. Veins transport blood back to the heart. The walls of veins consist of the same 3 layers as arteries, but the outer 2 layers are thinner. The lumen of a vein is larger than that of an artery. Blood flows under very low pressure in veins. The contraction of skeletal muscles close to veins helps the blood to move in the direction of the heart. There are semilunar valves in veins which only allows blood to flow in one direction to the heart. Small veins are called venules. Capillaries. Arterioles branch and later become microscopically small tubes, the capillaries. The capillaries form a branched network between cells in the tissue. The walls of capillaries consist only of one thin layer of endothelium. The lumen of a capillary is very small and allows red blood corpuscles in the blood to move through in a single file. This slows the blood flow so that the exchange of gases and substances into and out of cells can take place more effectively. Capillaries join to form venules that connect to form veins. Diagram of an artery, arteriole, vein, venule, and capillaries. Transverse sections through an artery, vein, and capillary. Know the meaning of instructional verbs in test and examination questions, e.g. Instructional verb. Meaning. Name. Give the name of something. Differentiate. Use differences to qualify between 2 or more categories. Tabulate. Draw a table and indicate the answers as direct pairs. Describe. State in sentences the main points of a process. Explain. Give your answer in a cause-effect or statement and reason sequence. Compare. Give similarities and differences between concepts. Answer the following questions. Question 1. 1. The diagram below shows part of the main circulatory system in humans. 1.1 Identify the heart chambers marked A and B. 1.2 Identify 2 organs that can be represented by part C in the diagram. 1.3 Identify the blood vessels marked D, E, F, G, and H, and also state the type of blood, oxygenated or deoxygenated, that is found in each of the blood vessels. Question 2. 2.1 Give a description of the path of a red blood cell as it travels from the right atrium of the heart round the body and back to the left atrium. Also list the differences between arteries and veins. Question 3. 3. Study the diagrammatic representation below showing a transverse section through a vein and an artery. 3.1 Which diagram, A or B, represents an artery? 3.2 Explain your answer to question 3.1. 3.3 Which diagram, A or B, represents a blood vessel that transports blood at low pressure? 3.4 Give one reason for your answer to question 3.3. 3.5 Describe how the structure of capillaries differ from that of arteries and veins. 3.6 Which blood vessel, A or B, has valves? 3.7 Give one function of the valves in the blood vessel mention in question 3.6. 3.4 Provide the labels for the parts numbered A1, B2, and C3. Question 4. Describe pulmonary circulation, the blood flow between the heart and the lungs, and explain how the heart is suited to perform its function. Common errors made by learners in examinations. Not familiar with basic terminology of the heart. Not understanding instructional verb /s in a question, e.g. the difference between describe and explain. Not able to provide correct labels to drawings. Not able to do calculations. Not able to interpret or draw graphs accurately. Activities/assessment. Complete the activities/questions in your textbook on the sections of this lesson. Consolidation. Define all the terminology relevant to the concepts covered in this lesson. Label and draw diagrams. Tabulate differences between arteries, veins, and capillaries. Values. By studying and learning about this section and by conducting research, you will develop a deep understanding of the diseases that may affect the heart and circulatory system, e.g., high and low blood pressure, effects of smoking, and an unhealthy lifestyle on your circulatory system, etc.